Welcome to another episode of Subconscious Realms. I'm your host, General Lee, and for tonight we welcome back one of our extraordinary returning guests who literally blew my mind from start to end of our last episode. And I'm talking here my utter fascination. He is a remarkable individual, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome author and the host and creator of YouTube channel DJ Elliot, and the host and creator of Hermes Risen podcast, Debbie. Now then, Debbie.
What a great introduction. Thank you so much, General Lee.
Thank you. I got almost immediate feedback from that last episode. It was incredible, Debbie. I can't thank you enough. And this is what it's all about, meeting somebody who's got the knowledge of what you have, and probably an easiest way of explaining this is some people can read well when they're on a call. They can have the information in front of them and they can read off, and it sounds mint. But again, this is just my opinion. I think that there's a difference between that format and an individual who's got true knowledge of certain topics. Generally, you find it out on what episode what discussion, the topic, what is being discussed. If that makes any sense, probably doesn't. But
you're saying whether people can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you can clearly tell somebody who's got that true knowledge, and you have got that true knowledge, what I'm speaking about. That was evident from that last show we did. It was extraordinary.
Well, I had to work hard to get it. I've worked hard on this kind of work for a long time.
Oh, you can tell. You can tell.
I've gone down some weird paths doing it as well. But
I could imagine, yeah.
But the thing with gaining knowledge, you have to turn it into wisdom. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. It must be challenging though for you, because I know you mentioned with Steiner's works, didn't you? You approached it and you had to reapproach it further down the line to actually come to get to grips of it, so to speak.
That's true, yeah. With Rudolf Steiner, I've been reading him since I was like 16, 17, but I didn't get it. And normally you'd think, right, just give it up. But I kept persevering and kept thinking, what is this guy on about? And then I left it for about 10 years, and it was I think it was 2016. I happened to pick up one of his books again, and it just came to me. I suddenly saw everything he was saying. But I wonder if it's also because over them years, I've studied many other esoteric paths and occult paths.
Yeah.
So that finally, maybe the way he said it was just a bit too, he does go a long way round things.
Well,
so
you're probably right on that. I mean, it's like some authors, the way they write, it can be challenging in itself just to try and be on that same wavelength. I mean, have you ever tried, for a good example, H.P. Lovecraft?
Now that's really weird. Yeah, I've just been reading some of his again recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a series with Robin Marks about H.P. Lovecraft. Not sure when we're going to fit it in, because we've got so much that we're looking into. A couple of different series with Robbie. He's brilliant. With H.P. Lovecraft, it is that much of a vast mind. For me, trying to read, I'm talking the very first page, just the way he writes, the way he's wording things, it's challenging. Maybe I should try again, when, like how you did, when you left it for so many years and you went back to it. Maybe I should try that.
Well, also, I think he thinks like an artist when he's writing, isn't he? So he's explaining everything in a kind of, it's difficult to explain how
it is,
writes like that, because it's also the 1800s. They do write in a slightly different way, but also being an occultist himself, he's probably trying to develop his own way of putting his ideas and his stories across.
Yeah, yes. I think
it's a bit long-winded.
Yeah, it is definitely. I think with what's surprising is he doesn't claim to have any occult connections. It doesn't claim that he's a magician or anything along those lines. It's all come from his thoughts, his dreams, which there are some dreams he's having. Some of the stories. I mean, it's still an inspiration today.
Yes, absolutely. And they're good scare stories for today.
Yeah, and one of my favourite films is Colour Out of Space, made it a few years ago. I think it was 2020 he made it. Could be wrong on that date. With Nick Cage is in it and Tommy Chong. And I'll tell you what, Debbie, if you've not seen it, I highly recommend it. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will send you some links later on where you'll be able to watch it.
Okay, because I know Amanda, who was part of the writing team of that, and because it's quite a difficult film to get hold of.
It is. Do you know? You're not wrong on that one. It was on. It used to be on Shudder for free, which is a bit like a Netflix, but specifically for horror and sci-fi horror. It's brilliant, especially if you like B movies, etc. But I'll send it you the link, so you can just stream it then. No adverts
on your shows. I don't think you have you, Amanda? I'll have to put you in touch with each other, because I think you'll find her a fascinating person to talk to.
Oh, nice one, Debbie. What's her name? Amanda?
I'm trying to remember her last name now. Sorry, I'm being really rude to you, Amanda.
Oh, you know.
I can't think of your last name, because I kind of just sort of know her through Facebook and things, but also she's, obviously I said, a writer to that film, and she's very into the Gnosticism way of living. And I like Gnostics and the Gnostic way of thinking of what this world's all about.
Yeah.
But she and the writer who did that film obviously were trying to capture the H.P. Lovecraft mythology and the way he writes things, because nobody else writes like Lovecraft.
They don't know.
No, sorry,
Debbie. Look, it's okay. Sorry.
Because you were saying he gets it through his dreams, but I wonder if maybe he was a magician in a life before that one, to be able to get some kind of surreal dreams that seem so lifelike. I wonder if he wasn't already putting himself into a trance, because maybe he was being quiet about that. He'd be quite poo-pooed, as we say in this trade, of if he admitted, oh, I use magic to get my ideas, he would be ridiculed. Or he was a magician in past life.
Most likely. I like that idea as well. It's a possibility. I guess it could be quite a lot of possibilities, but that's pretty stable.
And I find it interesting that the creatures he involved in his writings, for example, the Cthulhu or whatever, other people have encountered since. So did he make them up, and then that thought form's gone out there and people loved his work so much that they were able to create Cthulhu because they kept reading it and thought about it? Or did the Cthulhu really exist? They came to him and then he wrote about them.
Yeah, I love it. It's just the thought. I mean, imagine climbing into his mind just for a moment. Some of the stuff he was writing about was extraordinary. But to just maybe spend a minute in his head, see what's going on.
Would you go mad?
Ooh, well, I'm already mad, so I don't know. You get madder.
It might make you sane. It might make you see what the world's really about.
It might.
Saying that there's other dimensions and other realms and other beings out there, and that us humans can either become a black magician or a white magician, and black magicians are trying to conjure them up for their own business or whatever, and then they're just letting them the beings or the entities that they're calling up just run loose around the world?
Yeah.
Or would they be a white magician that tried to work with them and, I don't know, help them in some way?
Yeah. I love it. It is.
And those Victorian times were quite dark times anyway, weren't they? Both mentally, physically, and just in the way they lived.
I would say so. Yeah, it was harsh
back
then.
It played in the mind and the subconscious, didn't it?
Yes, yes. I think it was different parts, different times of history from what we're led to believe. There's been a lot of dark times. There's been a lot of bad, generally bad. There's some rotten individuals, and it's not how it's meant to be.
It's not how it's meant to be, which makes me wonder if this world's broken, and that these dark entities have managed to come in to try and control us. Maybe we're the lower end of the hierarchy of all beings. I don't know, but it feels wrong, doesn't it? It feels out of control, and it feels we're not living.
I think it is out of control, Deborah. I think it is out of control. Like I said,
sorry.
Like we said, it's okay, love. It's like we before we started recording, conversation we was having. It is what it is,
It is so much manipulation. We should be able to do something, shouldn't we? So we have to work on ourselves to make sure we're not caught up in it. We're not caught up with the people that are either evil or soulless or just demonically possessed.
I think I also believe that we could all be victims of some sort of manipulation, whether it be satanic ritual abuse, and anything really. Because manipulation, it's not just one thing. It can be so many different things could fall into manipulation.
But also a lot of these people that get involved with satanic abuse, there's obviously different kinds. I think some people get involved not realizing or not believing in it and just doing it for, to go along with everybody else. Then there's some that do believe that they can use it for their own means.
Yeah, their own benefit, where they're going to benefit.
But they don't understand that's just for this life. And our lives go on after we die. If you make a pact with the devil, your soul goes to hell, to him, or wherever you want to believe the devil is.
Yeah.
And he's got you. There's no chance of redeeming yourself, I think. I would like to think I'm wrong. I'd like to think everything's redeemable. Everything can find redemption. But if you get caught up with all that, you've signed that pact.
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas if you're trying not to be part of that kind of thing, we're working on the light side. Yeah. We're part of the eternal, everlasting life, whether you're going to go to a god or to go on to the next stage of whatever human evolution is, or to a higher realm. But you're not selling your soul that way. You're developing your soul if you're working on with the, I'm just calling it the light workers, because I can't think of what the opposite is to a satanic ritual. You're doing good things.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, then they want to help you progress and be part of the whole universal evolution. But you sell your soul to the devil, your soul's damned.
Yeah, you're knackered, aren't you, end of the day? But
it isn't a bit of fun. I know a lot of people see it as a bit of fun, and it isn't, because when that devil comes for you,
there's no fun when if you're making. I don't personally know anybody who's made that sort of deal. But you hear of it a lot.
And that deal's just for this one life, and there's more to us than just one life. We will go on and repeat lives or be reborn. I'm a strong believer in reincarnation.
Yeah, I like that.
If you sell your soul to the devil, you're not coming back. You're going to hell. So
and as well, I think, I'm not sure if this is something to take into consideration. They're dogmen.
Dog's just barking. I think the postman's just come by. We just ignore her.
Yeah.
If she really wants me, she'll start howling.
At least you know where you stand there. Nice. Yeah,
I was hoping you couldn't hear her, and I thought she's getting louder and louder.
Yeah, there's too much manipulation, Debbie. It's sickening to think that there are people out there targeting or attempting to target people for whatever reason. You know, it might be for something significant, but then again, it might not be.
Well, from a satanic point of view, their point of view of doing all this is to steal souls from the dark forces idea. And then the satanic people that are doing horrible things to people on this planet is to break them people so that they break down to such a point they just give up their soul.
Yeah.
You know, and they feel there's no hope, no redemption. They don't stop believing in anything divine or any angels or anything, because they think this world is so awful. This satanic person's doing this horrible things to me that it's to break them, to break people down.
Yeah. Sounds spot on how you just put that across.
Because it should all be about faith and belief, and that's what their dark forces and satanic forces are trying to crush: people's belief in angels, gods, whatever. You know, they want to make it feel like this is a godless world, godless realm. Because I find it quite weird that people will become satanic or believe in the devil. I think they say that more people believe in angels and devils than they do in God. I find that quite odd, because surely that's a hierarchy. You know, if they believe in gods and angels, they must believe in something that created them.
You know, just how you've put that then, yes, you would think that. But obviously some of these people can't think that way. They've got actually, maybe, I don't know, maybe see it written down, black and white. It's so bizarre how some people are. That rhymes.
Well, people seem concerned with just this life, don't they? Rather than what comes after it. It's very, I find that peculiar. You know, if they think that once they're dead, they're dead. I wonder if when we die, it is whatever we believe in is going to happen to us. If you believe that you're going to go to heaven, maybe you'll go to heaven. If you believe you're going to go to hell, you'll go to hell. Maybe it is something we create. Do we create what happens after our life here?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility for anything. Well, that makes sense, and it just sounds beautiful. It sounds like how things really should be. You know,
to create the heaven you want. Yeah, don't be thinking, I'm going to hell, I'm going to burn. You know, visualize what you want to go to. Whether it's hanging out with your favorite movie stars or, you know.
Not for me, thank you.
No, that's, you probably want to be with your loved ones, you know, living in an idyllic world.
Do you know what I would be ideal for me? Yeah, I mean, family is one of those, is an undeniable thought to not want your family there. But just think of how you could, if you could imagine, because you just think of how ideal you could to get things, I guess. But I would want it to be also with people like yourself, you know, some of our listeners, some of the guests we've got, like Gary Wayne, York Patient, just all the too many to to list. That it would just be fascinating to have all our minds in the same area.
Yeah. Some mythical creatures, perhaps the odd unicorn, living, you know, in beautiful countryside, nice little beach down the road.
I love it.
It's always sunny.
Well, not quite sunny all the time, but we'll have to divide that equal, because I do like it when it's gloomy, it's pissing it down. So, pardon my language, Debbie, sorry. When it's raining, gloomy, foggy, lightning, thunder, just everything. I love all the
I do love a storm. Okay, yeah, we'll have some storms.
Can't beat a good storm. We'll have to have a few a day. But yeah, it would be that would be like my ideal. I think
you're making it sound like it's going to be a bit northern. We can have some northern weather.
Yeah. I like that. Very nice one.
I don't often talk about politics, but I used to vote for Screaming Lord Sutch, because he used to say that what he wanted to do was to rebuild the British ship empire. So we have all the big ships and steamers being rebuilt by British Steel, and then he was going to get them to all go down to the south of the UK, so down to the southern coast. All the ships had to hook onto the land, and then he was just going to pull the country down to the Caribbean waters, because that's British waters. So that's good enough for me. You get my vote.
What's your thoughts on that? Is it got a thumbs up?
It's got a thumbs up. Let's go to Caribbean waters.
Thumbs up for me as well. Sounds good. That if only.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Politics is crazy, you know. We've got to laugh at it. It's got to be satire, really.
It's sort of, theatrical. Well, it can be.
Now it's puppetry.
I love it. Right, Debbie. I think looking at your, some of the material that you've covered in your extensive knowledge, Osman Spur, and I know absolutely nothing about, and I am intrigued from what I've started reading about him.
He's a wonderful artist and magician. I love his work. Because you normally put thumbnails to these, don't you? You're going to have such a choice of what to pick from Osman Spur's work.
Yes, it's just, it's like when we've got people like this from history, I think it makes you wonder why you don't hear of him, because I'd never heard of him till I found you. It just goes to show
sorry, go on.
It's sorry, love. It's just be quick on this. It just goes to show how many possibilities there can be, and how many different people, different subjects. It's just endless. But from what I can see from this dude, he's going to be a very interesting individual to speak of.
Well, there is a reason why he's probably not spoken about these days, because when he was very young, he got into artwork. So he was born in 1886, and he was actually born on New Year's Eve. So and I think it was near to the time of coming up to going into the new year. So that's quite a magical day to be born on. You're being born into a new year. But so he was born in 1886, and from a young age they could see he knew how to draw. And his dad was a policeman. I can't remember what his mother was at the time, but they had enough income to come in to keep them all just about surviving, because this is the Victorian times when poverty was just round the corner. And so as he was going into the 1900s, they realised he had a bit of a talent, and he put in some artwork to the Royal Academy in London, one of the most well-known art institutes of that time.
So he sent that in as like an example of his work.
Yes, and he got accepted, and he was shown. So he was, I think, 15 years old. I think he was 15, because in that year he was the youngest artist being shown. So they absolutely loved him. He was being, shown everywhere, talked about everywhere. He was the talk of the town in the art world. He was the big new thing to come. And so for the next few years, he was doing all this wonderful art. I think it was mainly portraits, because he is a fantastic portrait artist anyway. And so he's getting a scene in here, there, and everywhere. And he won a grant to one of the most well-known colleges for artists.
Right.
Because of his getting into the
art. How good he was.
Yeah, so he got to go to college. He was actually in college with Sylvia Pankhurst, who was to become known as one of the suffragettes.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so he was in good stead. Obviously, she was trying to put forward her women's rights then, but
Yeah.
suffragettes hadn't quite happened. They were just beginning to form.
Right, okay.
So he was hanging out with her. They were in the same class. And he was still being shown after he left college, but word started getting around about how he dabbled in magic. And so that kind of put a bit of a shadow over him from the artist world. They didn't want a magician, I'm doing that in quotation marks, a magician in their ranks. They couldn't have it because they were trained to look like, look who we are. We've got a reputation to keep. Can't have a young magician running around. And having that kind of thing brought upon them. So he was gradually pushed out from the art scene after starting off as the star boy. He was going to be the next up and coming thing. Because of his, and also in them days, they had a lot of thought that it was probably, if you're a magician, you're dabbling in black magic, which I'll come to explain more of while we go on. But that's what really ruined his art career. He continued being an artist throughout his life. Yes, I think so. I think it was because they didn't like what he was doing in his private life.
Do you think also that the reason why they went this way with him, like basically blackballed him from anything what he would normally do, like his his research, etc. Do you think they did that because they couldn't manipulate him? Because like they've said to him they want this, they want that, and if he's not going to do it for them, do you think that's why he turned? Maybe.
I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but I don't know, because from what I gather from the research I've done over the years, it's because it was more to stop their reputation being tarnished.
Right, okay.
They had a magician in their ranks, but it could be as well. I don't know if in them days they told artists what they expected. It's not really, they didn't handle people like they do now.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. Thinking of it, it's completely different times. It's a few hundred years ago.
Because this would have been the time of Turner and would it be pre-Raphaelites? I think the pre-Raphaelites would have been the next stage of the pre-Raphaelites, like William Morris and people like that, who were very much
a couple of 100 years
their own. But it's interesting you do say, because now I think about it, Austin Osman Spare would not follow other people's ways. He had to do everything himself. He believed in his own philosophy.
Unique.
Yes. I don't know if you know of William Blake. William Blake says, the great British artist from the 1700s, says that he would follow nobody else but devise his own religion and his own philosophy. And Spare was like that as well. He wanted to do it his own way. In fact, one of his favorite sayings was, let me just make sure I read this right. So this is from Austin Osman Spare's book, The Focus of Life. Who doth know what his own subconscious contains, still less his own arcana? So in a way, he goes on to talk about in that book how we shouldn't be influenced. We can learn from other people, but we should be developing our own magic, our own beliefs, our own ways of going forth in the world.
Yeah, that's what makes our personalities and who we are, I guess. So
but most people are asleep, aren't they? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes total sense, that, Debbie.
But most people like to be told what to think, be told what to do, and Spare, and I think like you and me, we like to blaze our own path of glory and go forward doing what we want to believe in. We've looked at how the rat race has been tried to keep us down, to stop us finding what we really truly believe in or express ourselves in the way we want to express ourselves. Rat race people try and poo-poo people like us, and that was probably what was happening to Spare. He's being poo-pooed by the academics.
It all it makes sense, love.
Because he was also because he grew up in Smithfield in so that's sort of central London now. So he meat market then. So he was getting to see all the everyday people. He was seeing how, you know, let's call them rat race people lived, you know, the workers. And he probably found it difficult being with the academics. Maybe you could see that they weren't honest, genuine people, because he painted portraits all his life, or drew portraits all his life. And some of them are fantastic renditions of these people, but others he starts putting parodies on them or turns them into like grotesque pictures.
She's got like a bit of a bit of a witty humour to him as well.
Absolutely, maybe. Yes. Yeah, and he used to use satire a lot. He liked making satires out of what he sees and saw in front of him. And what's even weirder was his favourite creature that he draws a lot, paints a lot, even saw, was a satyr or a satyr. Some people call it a satyr, some people call it a satyr. Satyr.
Like a horned god.
That's it, like a man on top with some horns, but below the waist would be sometimes it's goat's legs, sometimes it's donkey's legs, because he very revered Pan, you know, the goat horned god. Goat horned god. So he was influenced by satires of the industry and the world around him, but at the same time he was into satires, the creature. And he used to make puns on that, which I think I was trying to find them in my books, but I couldn't find them ready for today. But there's a satire he does about satires and satyrs, and how you're taking as a satire, you're ridiculing what you're seeing, but a satyrs something that's kind of looking at us and ridiculing us, and charms us with his pipes as he pays his pipes to you know, the story of Pan can put us all to sleep when he plays his pipes.
Flute.
And then he goes off into the fairy world and dances with all the other little creatures, the other folk, the fairy folk and such like. And one day, Spare was walking through London and he saw one in the distance in the high street, and he went chasing after it, but he lost sight of it. So he was so, I think he could see into other realms. He could see the other dimension. And he could see the other entities walking amongst us. Because another time he said he was getting on a bus and he saw a coven of witches on the bus, and they were all going to their Sabbath. So they probably were real women going for, maybe they were witches going to the Sabbath, but on the top deck of a bus, they sort of recognized, I suppose, his aura, that he dabbled a bit, or maybe they already knew each other by name, I don't know. But he ended up going to the witches' covens at Sabbath, where they were, you know, dancing around and calling up the devil and things like that. So but is this all in his imagination, or was he really seeing this, or was he seeing things that we can't see because he was more attuned to other dimensions?
The thing is, David, this is it. I believe that some of us really do have extraordinary abilities, but I just don't know the extent, you know, like how far. And just the thought of it, though, the old mythological side to,
which is kind of like what you were saying about H.P. Lovecraft. Was he getting all them dreams naturally, or had he worked with someone to help develop his dream technique? Because dream technique is a wonderful thing to work with for diving down into your subconscious to bring up, you know, obviously strange elementals or strange ideas, but then maybe the subconscious is the reality, and our consciousness is trying to keep us away from seeing what's really going on. You know, if we can crack through our conscious and get down into our subconscious, maybe we'll lift the veil, that they call it the veil of Isis, that stops us seeing the other dimensions. And I know Austin Spare worked a lot with his subconscious. He said that we should be bringing that up, and a lot of other occult workers that I've studied over the years, that is what they're saying, is what is true creativity is coming from your subconscious, because that's the free one that's running around doing what it wants, but it's stifled by the consciousness, which is told how to think by our peers, by our leaders, by our teachers, by our parents. You know, and some of us broke free from that programming, thankfully. And we were talking earlier before we started the show about how we try to get these kind of shows out there because that's our subconscious trying to awaken other people's subconscious, which is why we want to do this kind of work.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
It is crazy how we're held down and kept in like a prison in our minds. And then when you do start working in other ways, using your subconscious, like William Blake was ridiculed. Austin Spare was kind of ridiculed that they kept quiet about it because they didn't want it getting out into mainstream, that the Royal Academy had someone who dabbled in magic showing their art at their gallery.
It's
sorry, go on.
You think that I mean, just how they've been with his work, it was sort of like that with Aleister Crowley. Now, I know that, you know, it might have been up to no good, but at that time, who wasn't taking drugs and in those days? You could buy heroin and cocaine over the counter in a normal pharmacy.
Well, Crowley was actually given heroin for his asthma problem, because
it was something like that.
So they wasn't seen as a drug, heroin, as a recreational drug or whatever these days. It was seen as a way to heal people with their asthma. So he was prescribed heroin from quite a young age for his asthma.
Just so bizarre.
So the doctors got him addicted from a very young age. And then obviously that carries on in the future of, Crowley was a drug addict, which he was, because the doctors made him one for his asthma.
People they don't seem to be able to have the ability to accept something like that. Oh no, they're just looking for negativity.
They don't look at the whole picture. They don't look for where you started, what the cause of things are, because it's something I try and put through to people all the time. Don't just blame people for something because you've heard it hearsay. Go and research it for yourself. Verify it for yourself. Yes. I don't mind being told things by people, but I will go and double check it. I don't rely on other people, and you guys shouldn't be doing that with me either. Don't just believe what I say. If you're interested in it, go and look it up more yourself, and continue your education.
That's
yourself.
That's self-progression, and that's what she should be doing anyway. But there's a lot of sleazeballs in there, really.
I was quite lucky. I had an English teacher who told me from a young age, if you don't understand a word, look it up in a dictionary. Now, most people would ignore a dictionary and just try and guess what that word is, but it helped. That's what I'm trying to say, of doing the same thing. Go and find out for yourselves.
That's fantastic, that, Debbie. Thank you. And I'm sure everybody appreciates what you are actually, a bit of advice, what you've just given everybody. This is what we need in this community, is for saying you've got true knowledge, and there's a difference, and that's what we like. You are one of the pillars of this community, and that's a compliment. That I think you are. I love what you're doing. I love your channel, and I love the conversations.
Oh, it's really sweet of you. I really like doing our shows together. I think it's great to pass on information.
And
learn from each other
as well. But you are English, so you get a double pass off me immediately.
I'm a southerner.
I love everybody. I love all the guests we have on, but I'm very lucky to have met some of the guests we've had. I am very lucky.
Yeah, you've got great shows out there. I've been, even though we've realised, and I listened to you a year or so ago with one of your guests, and over the years, over the last year, I've listened to various ones, but when we connected, I went back through your back catalogue. Your stuff on CERN's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And that was with the host and creator of Meta Mindcast, Robbie Marks. Robbie, he is an artist. That's his craft, but just everything about him, the way he presents himself to the knowledge, he's one of like-minded. You know, he just leaves me speechless sometimes. He is fascinating, and I love doing shows. I love doing shows with a lot of people, but
some of the things you said, I can't remember what they are now, but they made me rethink my own thoughts on CERN, and I always like that kind of challenge. I think that's good to do.
Yeah, I love that, Deborah. It's like when somebody's got a different perspective than you, the way they present that, it can change your own perspective. You know, because I'm sure, you only have to listen to some of the shows I've done with Robert, and you can tell of he's elite level. And this is when before we started recording, I was like I was saying to you, if we all got our minds together, we could achieve anything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mind power is one of the important factors of this world. And this is one of the things Spare was trying to encourage in other people. It's not just our conscious mind. If we bring our subconscious up, you're doing a double creation, because you're bringing that freedom and, I'm going to say wildness, but it's not wildness of your subconscious. Working with your conscious, it's like two parts coming together, and then they encourage each other to work, or inspire each other to work.
It should be, isn't it, really? But this Osman Spur, I think he was in the wrong time. We could do something like that now.
Well,
it's
go on. Yeah.
No, it's like almost he's like fearless in what he did, and that's why I'm just so interested in on your perspective. Because I trust your judgment.
Well, I think in them times, so I think from the mid 1800s to mid 1900s, so 1850 to 1950, we had a lot of people that came around onto this planet that were trying to encourage people to think for themselves. And before that, maybe we only had like perhaps William Blake the century before, but he was ridiculed in his own time and didn't get appreciated till 100 years later. And the same kind of was happening in the 1815 to the 1950s. So we're talking, we've got Theosophy starting up, Anthroposophy, the Gurdjieff work, and also all the magical orders like the Golden Dawn and Crowley's own society, the AA, the Argentum,
Silver Star.
The Silver Star,
yeah.
Which Spare became a member of, because Crowley headhunted Spare.
Really?
Crowley thought his artwork was phenomenal, and he recognized a fellow magician in this artwork. So he went and sought out Spare. Obviously, they're both living in London anyway. And he probably could heard of his name anyway through the other occult circles. So Crowley's discovered Spare, gone and met him, asked him to do some artwork for his. Crowley was making the magazine The Equinox at that time. So
Equinox.
The Equinox. It's like his journal for his society. You can buy them now. Some are cheap, some quite expensive. Normally the ones with Spare's Spare's art in them are quite expensive.
Really?
Yeah, because
What they called again, Debbie? Sorry, love.
They're called The Equinox.
The Equinox.
Because to them, the magical time of the year was not just solstice, it was also the equinox, when it was equal day and night. And like I was saying earlier about during the conscious and subconscious coming together, they need to be equal. So there's something about the equality of that. So Crowley took on Spare to do some artwork for the equinox. And I think Spare was expecting to be paid, and instead he was initiated into Crowley's order. He's like, so well, come and join my order. And then he did some more artwork. And Crowley didn't pay him. He gave him a magical robe to wear at the order.
Tell you what, I bet that cost some money though, because I can't see Crowley wanting to, you know, rock whatever he was doing in a shitty materials dressing gown. You think it would be like something, you know, silk or something, not cheap.
Probably.
You know, back then he had all his inheritance money, didn't he? So
yeah, and he hadn't blown it by then. He did blow it, I think, by the 40s or 30s or 40s, but not at this time. He still had it all. Because he blew a lot of it on producing the Equinox magazines and books, because not many people bought them, really, you know, because it's aimed at occultists, I suppose, and there weren't really that many out there, and there still probably isn't. There's probably wannabes, but not any real true occultists. And maybe that's why Crowley, I think Crowley was drawn to Spare, because he recognized a fellow magician that Crowley saw himself. He was quite high up, obviously, in his order, and he took Spare on, and Spare became probationer, and then he should have carried on up the ladder of the magical order. There's all this debate of whether Crowley threw him out or whether Spare left, and I personally think Spare probably left, because Spare wasn't into rituals. He wasn't into being part of an organization, part of a secret society. That didn't appeal to him, because he wanted to do it by himself. You know, I'm a bit like that myself, to be honest. I'm not one to really join societies. I'm not really into role playing or ritual magic, but for some people that works. They feel they get something from it, and I can understand that. When you're in a group, the energies are stronger and higher. So some people they don't trust themselves to be able to do it by themselves. I'm not being degrading there. I understand how some people like to follow a ritual from beginning to end and be led how to do it, where I kind of would rather do things my own way, my own time, and when I want to, and dress how I want to. I don't want to, I'm not into dressing up for rituals or role playing. In fact, I've always been a bit of a rebel, and I'd probably want to, if I did go and join a little ritual of some kind, I'd be really tempted to screw it up for them. And I'll just blow that candle out. No, we must keep it going. Knock that over. What do you mean you've got a lovely wand? Let me just snap it in half. I'm not being malicious. It's just my rebel side. I like to do things by myself. I've always been against governance and against being told what to do.
I've never been one for politics myself, Debbie. I think these people, it's like they're almost masters of manipulation, because of some of the shit they come out with. Sorry for swearing.
No, I agree. It is shit.
It really is. I don't know where it all comes from. Yeah, I mean, clearly there's puppetry involved, but it would be very interesting to know like full details of what goes on from start till end, because they can't just basically ruin people's lives.
And it is puppetry, and I would assume, I strongly believe Spare didn't want to be someone's puppet, and Crowley really loved being a puppet master. So that probably also is why he left.
I do like that. That's brilliant, that. That really is.
Well, there is one story, Crowley, which is one of my favourites. Crowley used to believe he had an invisibility spell, and he could make his clothes invisible, put it on, and no one could see him, right? And so he'd walk down the street with his cloak that made him invisible on. And Crowley wore a lot of strange clothing. You know, he used to like to wear his kilt, and he'd carry a sword, because you could in those days without being arrested. And he also wore a Horus mask quite a bit.
What?
And wearing a cloak.
What do you mean? What?
Can you imagine it? How he's looking?
What? Right, I'm very confused. Right, what's he wearing? I need to know what he's wearing.
Right, so he's got a kilt, you know, like a Scottish kilt.
A tartan kilt.
I can't remember what kind of colour that he put.
All right, well, let's say it's tartan, just for shits and giggles.
It's some kind of tartan kilt, probably his family's colours or something.
He's got a tartan frock on.
Probably his, you know, boots on or something. He had a mask of Horus, you know, the god Horus, the bird-headed god. So he used to wear that. And then he'd put his cloak round it, a sword. So he carried his sword and his ceremonial daggers. And he had a cloak round him, which he believed had made him invisible. Now he's walking down the street thinking this is working, because no one's looking at him. To be honest, I think most people were probably like, oh my God, just look away. Don't make eye contact with this dude. Walk away. Wouldn't you? I think that's what's going on myself. But he thinks he's invisible and striding about. And apparently Osman Spare went up to him one time and just walked up to him and went, I can see you, you know, and walked away. That was just brilliant. So I just think it's hilarious. I love reading into all these stories of all these magicians and their egos, and, you know, just like Crowley's a character in himself. Maybe we should do a show on him, just everything he's done sometime, if you want to.
Yeah. Yes, please.
But I think that Spare and Crowley probably clashed. They probably both realised, like, I think Crowley was probably jealous of Spare's magical abilities. I myself think Spare was the greatest magician we've ever had, you know, greater than Crowley.
Seriously?
Yes. Spare could, he made these forecasting cards.
Forecasting cards?
Yeah, and he knew how to make sigils, and I think Spare understood the use of magic. Magic isn't about making yourself rich in money. Magic is about developing yourself, your inner self. And I think Spare understood that. And he understood that using real magic, he was able to bring up your subconscious, and your subconscious is somehow in tune with what's really happening in the world. So that's why he was able to make his fortune cards that worked. He talked about he made his own tarot card system.
So he didn't tarot card system.
Yeah, he made tarot cards, but he made his own system of it. He didn't particularly follow the standard way a tarot cards are done. And what's quite interesting, I think, is his tarot cards were only discovered 10, 15 years ago, and they've been kept in the Magic Circle HQ in London. And nobody had known that they were Austin Osman Spares, and they've only recently been discovered. A new book probably came out about 10 years ago about it.
Yeah. Debbie, sorry to interrupt you, love. Are these available to buy now?
His tarot cards have never been made into a deck. There is a book with all the cards in, so you can look at a book of it. I think it's called Lost Envoy. Because a lot of Austin Osman Spare's work has been lost over the years or has gone into private collections. You know, people like I've forgotten the guitarist from Led Zeppelin. He's got a lot of Austin Osman Spare artwork.
Elvis Presley?
No, from Led Zeppelin, not Led Zeppelin. I love a bit of Led Zeppelin.
No, I was only joking, by the way.
Led Zeppelin's brilliant. Do you listen to their music?
Led Zeppelin. Do you know?
Led Zeppelin is a piss take of Led Zeppelin, but it's not. They do the music of Led Zeppelin, but they've got Elvis Presley impersonators singing all the songs. It's fantastic.
Sounds it. Yeah, I think with music, I like a lot of different variety. It just depends on, you know, the mood you're in at the time, if you know what I mean. But yeah, music is brilliant.
Jimmy Page is who I was trying to remember the name of.
Jimmy Page, yeah, he had a lot of connections to being an Uncle Al
yes,
fanboy.
Uncle Al.
He's got
Boleskine.
How's it?
Boleskine, yes, in
Boleskine,
Scotland, on Loch Ness.
Loch Ness, yeah. A place I've always wanted to go.
Well, it got burnt down, and I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Burnt down a few times, you know, Debbie, hasn't it? Over years. Over years, it's been burnt down a few times. Sure it has.
Well, now I can't remember what year it was. Anyway, I was commissioned to make a film about Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn.
Seriously?
Yeah, so I made this film.
It's incredible, that, Debbie.
It's on my YouTube now, but it was commissioned to be played at a group that was celebrating. No, it was for Aleister Crowley's birthday, actually. At Atlantis Bookshop, they were doing a celebration of his birthday. So we made this puppet film. So I'm using puppets to represent the whole scene between Crowley and the Golden Dawn. And we used from Crowley's book, the Book of the Law, chapter 7, which is all about how Crowley is going to burn down the house and rebuild it with an invisible crystals-like building. So like he's building he'll burn down a house and his temple will be rebuilt in the astral realm. So that was the chapter we used in this film. And this film's called what's it called? Occult Lives, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It's on my YouTube channel. So we've done all that, made the film, used the puppets, recited that chapter of the Book of the Law. It premiered on December the 1st, and 21 days later, Boleskine burnt down. And this magician said to me, he went, that was one piece of magic. There's you thinking you're being the puppet master making this film, when really Aleister Crowley was the puppet master making me make the film of his puppets to inaugurate his spell to work. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, or whether it really was my film that was part of Crowley's spell, but it is very strange that we used that chapter in the film, and 21 days later his house burnt down. Crowley can still work. Uncle Al still works from beyond the grave.
Uncle Al, yeah. Oh, I believe so myself. I think he was. I mean, there's a lot of bad things you hear about him, but how much of that's actually legitimate proof of having, happened? Because you get a lot of people tell a lot of lies.
Well, also a lot of people would want to ridicule him, give him a bad name. They don't know what he's doing. Again, people don't like people that are free to do what they want. And people don't like
jealousy.
Freedom. Yeah, jealousy. They try to bring them down by manipulation or by a lot of bad mouthing. Crowley loved his publicity. He thought it was great. He used it to help promote his own work. He quite liked being known as the Beast. It made him more notorious.
Yeah, he did. Saying that if you just check all the quote allegations, I'm sure a lot of it is true, but again, we can't really comment on something we don't know about. Well, you can, but we've all got a voice, haven't we?
Yeah, if we're not there, we can't verify it, can we? But we could do our research, look at both sides of a story.
Yes,
Like, I'd be intrigued to meet Aleister Crowley. I don't know if I would have liked him as a person. I don't know if I'd find his ego because it depends on how he would be with you. He might think, oh, I quite like how you are, and be his normal, natural self. Or he might think, oh, I'm going to, I don't like this person. So he puts on an ego and acts like a beast. It's what effect you have on him.
Yes, that makes total sense. I would love to meet him myself, but you don't. I mean, he's going to have an ego in him, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that's just his personality.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I know he just like looks, seems as if he just wanted to, you know, just you know, like the rituals, like this sex magic, what he used to do. You think it's not like a one-off thing. He was proper into it. He you know, strongly believed on what he was doing was right. But
yeah, and belief is a very important part of magic. You need to believe what you're doing and develop the will. The will is the what I would call the backbone of all magic. You need to will something to happen, and many people don't have that in them. Many people don't know about their will or don't want to believe in themselves, which is why there's very few magicians like Crowley or Spare around, or people see it from an egotistical way because this person's developed their will, so he's quite comes across as quite well, they're will-minded, they know what they want, they're going for it. And you know, you could look at it as some of today's I think some of today's pop stars, like let's say Beyonce or whatever. She's developed her will so strongly, she's got what she wanted.
Oh yes, you're saying that the difference in music, especially the videos now, and what they used to be like, some of them are quite disturbing. It's a music video, and you know, kids are into shit like this. Sorry for swearing.
No, I agree with you. There is too much of that kind of stuff out there. Definitely too much going down the dark path, demonic side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what year it was, Debbie. Might have been last year or year before. One of them, I'm not sure of his name. I still think 1 minute. Little Nas X or something along those lines. He had some trainers what put like I think it was a drop of blood. Not sure whose blood was in these trainers. It had pentagram on it. 666.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find some images and send them you.
And, I know who you mean. I can't remember because I try not to remember.
That's his name, isn't it? Little Nas X, I think. I think that was his name or something like that.
But he's made some deal, hasn't he? So that he's going to get his 10 years of fame. See, I'm trying to cough now. To me, that would be like the dark forces don't want me to talk about it. But he'll get his 10 years of fame on this earth. So he's going to get materials, material wealth and whatever he likes sexually or whatever. But when that's up, his soul's gone. Where is it worth it for just 10 years or 20 years? You know, like these, you hear about the old blues players that used to go to the crossroads and sign their life away to the devil so they could play the best blues ever. You know, it's like, is it worth it? If I don't understand that mentality. Surely they must understand there is an eternity going on. And
I think it's part of common sense, Deborah.
Yes, lack of common sense. Common sense isn't very common.
It's not, is it? It's it really isn't.
But again, this is all down to dual concepts, isn't it? Like, Bob Dylan, he's just announced something, isn't he?
He did, something. I mean, I didn't know. He signed something or made a pact with. So I'm not exactly sure what. I say an entity or numerous entities. But you think? I think he's brilliant, Bob Dylan, as a musician. At what point in his career did you think that? Because from what I can make out of him, he was doing well from as soon as he started.
So did he do it from the beginning before he got?
That's what I mean. You think he's done this before, and that's why he's got famous like almost immediately. His work's brilliant, whichever way you look at it.
But he also does songs. Some of his songs are very as if like not saying they're hymns, but they're to the divine. They're good, uplifting. Well, not uplifting because his songs aren't uplifting, but it's good.
Some of them are though.
Lyrics. It's not like this chat with the boots that's got the blood on them. I'm pretty sure he's done some pretty demonic songs, hasn't he? Things that I would not want to listen to, some awful stuff. So I wonder if Bob Dylan's been able to redeem himself with the kind of writing he's put forward.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that, Debbie. Possibility, isn't there, love?
Yeah. And he's been able to create his own way of putting, like Dylan, his own philosophy of what life should be. Maybe he has sold his soul to the devil, and that he's going to lose his soul, but he's managed to keep good, uplifting, positive, to try and encourage us to stay on the right path.
Yeah. That would make sense to me.
Because one of the things with all of this is really these kind of people that sign them things over to them, are they being inspired to do their own writing, or are they being told what to write?
Yeah, I think, again, manipulation. If it really is, it's a shame. It really is a shame.
So Dylan's kind of keeping, even though there might be some darkness to his work, he's also bringing some light into it, where this young rapper guy, I don't even think he's a rapper really, is he? But anyway, his is all just darkness, and he's trying to shock us, which again would be a demonic kind of background to that, a demonic driving. Oh, he's just so stupid that he doesn't know what he's doing.
I love it, Deborah.
But from a positive point of view, because Austin Spare was trying to, well, he did it his own way. He did his own philosophy, but he was also trying to make people, through his art, even though a lot of his art is seen as quite dark, because it's quite erotic, but at the same time a bit disgusting, some of it. I think that probably got him thrown out of a lot of societies. But he was trying to make people look at your dark and light sides. And I know people get very fixated with their dark sides. We've all got a dark side. We've got to remember we've got a light as well. And people suddenly start looking at their dark side, and they can be dragged in. It's a temptation to go down that path and stay on that path and just think, this is what I am. And we're not. We're all light beings, really. But we're on this earth trying to make sure we stay light. The darkness can engulf us very easily, which is why Spare still believed in a God, or he called it a universal consciousness.
A universal consciousness.
Yeah, there's a universal consciousness out there that we can all attune to. But it's kind of like the whole freedom of choice, free will. We can either go to it in a light working kind of way, or we can go to it in a dark way, and whichever way we go to it, it will give us what we're looking for. It's kind of like the story of God's always up there calling down to us, but we can't connect unless we reach up.
It's like you've got to make that connection. And I know you have people when they say they've like spoken to angels, or made some sort of contact. I think that in itself is, if somebody has that ability, I think that is extraordinary. It's fascinating.
I do worry about some people might be being misled down a dark path, not knowing that they're, because I think the dark forces can manipulate people into believing something.
But
it gives them what they want, is what I'm trying to say. It pretends it can disguise itself as angels or whatever, but hopefully people will start to realize, actually, this isn't quite right. It teases you in at first, gives you what you want, and then it starts manipulating. And I've had people, I think this is what happened to Dr. D, the Elizabeth I astrologer. I think he started out with what he thought was an angel, but when it started asking him to do kind of nasty things or dark things, and a bit of wife swapping, for example, which would be
seriously,
wife swapping. Yeah, but we should do a show on Dr. D. We'll do that as well sometime, because that's a long story. But again, I feel that's where it was a dark force pretending to be a light force. So people need to be able to, I suppose, fathom their way through, be able to, I suppose that's why there's the worry of anybody doing this can be taken down the wrong path. And if an angel's been giving you everything you've wanted in the first place, and then suddenly it goes, now I want you to go and kill this cat, you think, oh, I best do it because it's an angel doing it. And it's so far the last year or so I've been working with it, it's done everything it's wanted, you know, it's been good. You know, people can be easily manipulated.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to think that if that happened to them and suddenly this angel's telling them to do something evil, like kill a cat, there'd be like warning signals would go up and they would like, no, I mustn't listen to this entity anymore. It's not the angel I thought it was. Because the dark forces of all the time in the world, they can take ages to string someone along before they suddenly start turning dark.
Yeah, that's definitely that. Like, you think of how old some of these entities could be. They're experts at what they do as well.
Yes, exactly. They've been around for millennia.
Yeah, highly evolved.
I think it's Rudolf Steiner says that if you see Lucifer walking down the street, cross the road. And there's many others that have said that kind of thing, you know, don't engage with the devil. The devil knows how to play all the best tunes. He knows how to do all the best games. He knows all the, you know, how to trick everyone. So, but for some reason, us humans think we can outdo the devil. Not many people do.
Don't know why I think that, but yeah.
We can't outsmart the devil. He's an archangel, for, you know, Christ's sake. He's a fallen angel. It's very clever.
Very clever. It is. I think it's like with the mythological side of like tales. I find that to be, just my opinion, that's most intriguing to me. Just the thought of some of the entities. I mean, you've got the dogmen, just a first name to mind. It's fascinating. You think of how far it goes back, of an actual race of dogmen.
Yeah, lion-headed people.
Another one, yeah.
But these are the things I think H.P. Lovecraft was getting into touch with or contact with. He was finding these other entities, or maybe they were telling him their stories through his mind or his ears or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go soon.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've got someone coming around for lunch, so I can do about another 10 minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, not a problem.
I've just seen what the time is. It always goes so quick. I thought, oh, it's only about 10 to
the hour. I'm not even...
What?
Yeah. Again, I think when you're into a conversation and it's that intriguing, time, it's like as if it just goes so quick.
We need to figure out how we can stop it so we can just be in this time bubble and talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and come back and say, it's okay, I can go back to my mundane life now.
I love the sound of that, yes. But, you know, if we've got anything we think of after today, we can always come back and do, you know, include it as part 2, piggyback on from this episode.
Absolutely.
And, like, before we tackle another topic, because there's so much.
I did want to say quickly about an Austin Osman Spare story, if that's okay.
Quick, go for it, please, Debbie.
I don't know if you've seen a picture of him, of what he looked like. You know, we've all got doubles. There's people that look like me out there. There's people that look like you out there. Well, Austin Osman Spare looks like Adolf Hitler. And well, Spare used to do portraits of people, but he did a lot of his own self-portraits. And one of these self-portraits actually, apparently, there's different versions of this story, but I'm going to tell you the one I know. So one of the self-portraits got to Adolf Hitler, who apparently thought that Spare had done a picture of himself, of Hitler. until someone explained, no, this is the portrait of the artist.
Don't flatter yourself, Adolf.
So Hitler asked, sent a message, obviously through his peoples, and asked him to Speer to do a portrait of him. And Speer obviously was like, because this is obviously the Nazi Party is already out there and happening, and Speer wrote a letter back to Hitler saying, so Hitler's asked for a portrait, for Speer to come to Germany. He's going to pay for him, come and do a portrait of me. So Speer's written back, only from negations can I wholesomely conceive you, for I know of no courage sufficient to stomach your aspirations and ultimates. If you are Superman, let me be forever animal. Because, you know, Hitler was saying about how he was going to create the Superman race. And Speer was totally against everything that Hitler was up for. Well, anyway, apparently a few weeks after Hitler got this letter, there was the Luftwaffe came over London, and, you know, the Luftwaffe from the German bombers was bombing London, and Speer's flat was obliterated by a Luftwaffe bomb. Really? So whether Hitler personally targeted Speer, we will never know, though Speer himself is adamant that Hitler was targeting his studio and flat because he refused to do his portrait, which I think is just fantastic. What a great story.
It is, it's fantastic.
And one of the other weird things is that Speer throughout his life took in cats, stray cats, and as we all know, Hitler was a dog lover. So what a difference between the two of them.
I love that. That last little bit about cats, brilliant.
So I do encourage people to go and look at Speer's artwork. It is quite mesmerising. As I say, some of it's a bit erotically disturbing.
You know, I was actually looking for this image of it, you know, him with the comparison to Hitler. Now, that's what I've just been looking for. But yeah, some of this artwork.
Because you can see all the mystery schools
brilliant.
in it. He does a lot of Egyptian mythology, a lot of Babylonian mythology, a lot of, I think there's some Celtic, definitely Pan, because Pan was one of his favourites. And you can see how he interweaves it in his more magical artwork. And there's always little imps and little, you know, you have to really look at a Speer art piece, one of his big artworks, because there's things hidden in there, you know, that will catch your eye, and you can see he's trying to put magical connotations into them all. You know, there's not enough Austin Osman Speer on show in this world. Sadly, a lot of it got burnt. A museum in London that held a lot of it in Elephant and Castle got burnt down a few years ago, and a lot of Speer's artwork was in there, so we've lost a lot of it. But thankfully, most of it is in private collections, and we need to encourage more people to do shows or exhibitions of Speer's work.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I'll tell you another interesting artist. Oh, right. His name, I've just found a picture of, I'll tell you what, I want to, if you know how to access, like if I send you a message now, are you okay? Just have a quick look at it. Literally take a minute.
On email?
I'll send it you on Skype, actually. It's probably the easiest way.
Yeah. There must be a way of like a chat or something.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see it pop up maybe, and then it'll put, I will send it now.
I can see the chat.
Are you on as a guest?
Yes.
Right, I'll tell you what then.
I couldn't sign in. It was really annoying. I forgot my password.
I admire your honesty, Debbie. I love it.
Sometimes I just have them moments and I'm like, I can't think of my password.
Right, how can I do this now?
Because Austin Osman Speer also wrote quite a few books explaining his philosophy, but they're not books like an academic book. They're more like small books with his art on each page and then a few lines explaining what his beliefs were and his ideas of how we should be working with ourselves and our subconscious. And he called it the Sos and the Kia. And the Kia is like the universal mind. It was what I was saying about he believed in a universal consciousness.
Yeah, like as one.
Yes, that's it. And Zos, Z-O-S, is the human body and the human mind. Yeah.
Z-O-S. I'm sorry, I'm just making a note of this, Debbie, sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. Because he says, I'm just going to quote him, he says, this religion that he devised, this Zos and Kia, this Zos Kia cultist, which embodies my conception of what we are, we were, and shall be in the future. So he believes that humanity is a developing system, like all systems are developing, where many people believe we're finished, this is it, we're at the highest peak, we're not going to develop any further. Well, I believe we're a continuing, evolving race.
I fully agree with you. I think we are. That exactly is what we are. I don't think there's any other way of explaining it, is there? Don't know. It's just constant fascination to me, Deborah.
Mm-hmm. And
but
me
it just makes things that much more enjoyable when you meet somebody with true knowledge, as for you do. There's a difference, and it means everything for not just me, but for the listeners.
Oh, it's great. I hope I can help people in continuing their research. I'm always open for conversation. If anyone wants to email me, they can through my website, debbie-elliott.co.uk. And I love being able to have a conversation with people like yourself, like your good self.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. It's nice. It's lovely, actually, to be able to, like you said, have a conversation with somebody like-minded. Very lucky to have met some of the people that we've done podcasts with, and you're one of those, Deborah.
Well, I'd love to do more. You know, Dr. D or Crowley. I can think of some other ideas now, which would be great to find about.
I've already got plenty of ideas, but these are just adding to everything. I've actually sent that to your email, Debbie. Was having none of it on Skype.
Right.
It should be with you now. Just let me know what you think of that. If that's the one that you was on about.
Hold on. Sorry, I feel like we're leaving dead air, but I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just coming up.
I just thought that picture
he's such a fan. He's so handsome, isn't he?
That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
But do you see the Hitler connection?
That's brilliant.
But we all have look-alikes. We're not unique in this world. There's, you know, people that look like you, people that look like me.
Yeah.
So that's going to be perfect to use.
It is. Never. Once again, I am. I'm just so fascinated in you and your and just the perspectives that you that just seem to be just spot on. That's a compliment, that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you everybody for listening. I hope you're inspired to go and look at some spare, find your will and develop yourself, and listen to more of General Lee's shows.
Oh, thanks, love. Yeah, I mean, as soon as we finish, I'm going to look more into Austin. I think he's very underrated at what he's done.
He is, yes. Though
he's not getting
he's not. He's at the top. He's the best, you know.
He's not. Don't get the credit he deserves. I think. It's a shame. It's a shame when you get all these tyrants they get better thoughts of than somebody with a brilliant mind. It's just,
well, these tyrants aren't free, are they? They want to be controlling. That's why they're tyrants.
Yeah. It makes sense that with Crawley being a little bit jealous of him as well. So if he's come in there like that and he wasn't just like, oh, talks a good job, he was as good as, like you said, as good as they come. Brilliant.
Yeah. Must have put any magician's nose out if they found another magician whose magic actually worked.
Yes. So I wonder how many times Aleister Crowley had that work. Almost, he maybe thought a little bit threatened by somebody as good as him. You think if they got together and they're doing all their rituals again?
I think maybe in the first days, but I gather from Spare, and I can read it in his own writings, he got out pretty quick because he just doesn't like working with other people. He's not a ritual person. We don't need to do rituals to connect with the elementals or the elements of the world or the universe. But some people, like I was saying, they just like that. Gives them a sense of not superiority, but a sense of doing, a sense of security,
a sense of worth, maybe.
Yeah, a sense of worth. Where Spare was more free, and I suppose that's why I relate a lot to Spare. I'm quite in the same mindset as him. We're free to do it however we want. It's our intention that's important.
It is. It's all about intention. It's like anything, Debbie. We've always got a choice, haven't we?
Yes.
But what's
and it's
right
what we do with that choice. And like you say, what's right, what's wrong.
It's all, there's so many different aspects of situations. That choice, it's all about that choice. You've just got to, whatever you feel is right at that time.
Yeah, follow your conscience. Yeah. Not your conscience.
I'll follow my gut, mate. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Debbie, once again, I'm just totally fascinated by this episode. It's crazy how.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks a lot. I hope you have a wonderful day, dear. But before you go, could you let everybody know where they can get hold of you, please? I will put your show notes in the show notes. I'll put your links and everything, Debbie. But do you want to let everybody know, please?
Okay, yeah, my website's debbie-elliott.co.uk, and I have a YouTube channel, DJ Elliott. And normally I just say to people, put DJ Elliott in and occult, and I will come up if I don't come up straight away. Because there's a few DJ Elliots now. There was just two of us when I started. Now there's loads.
Yeah, I'll add your links in the like your main page and that, Debbie. So hopefully people will just click on that link, say the old malarkey of you can find wrong pages about you. Like you're saying, if there's a couple of DJ Elliots now, they might.
They're cashing in on me.
Yeah. Make your own names up. Come on. Right, Debbie. Thank you very much. It's been an honour speaking with you again. I can't wait till we speak again soon.
Same here. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, love. Yeah, me too. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording now, love. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.